This video will cover the 3 steps of your content development upon selection of your teaching topic. The 3 steps are: first, establish the learning outcomes. Second, identify the learning contents. And finally, organize the contents in a coherent sequence. Starting with step 1, establish the learning outcomes. What is learning outcome? Well, according to Robert Magger, it is a description of a performance you want your learner to be able to exhibit before you consider them competent. By describing explicitly what we want our learners to be able to achieve after the lesson, not only help us to crystallize what we are expecting them to achieve, but also frames what kind of contents will be relevant for us to cover in order for them to achieve the learning outcome. The process of writing a learning outcome can be simplified by following a basic formula, the ABC approach. By using this formula, you'll be able to create clear and effective learning outcomes. Basically, it contains of 3 elements. The A stands for the audience, the B stands for the behavior, and the C stands for the condition. The A stands for the audience refers to mainly the participants who will be attending the program or the workshop and will be expected to achieve this outcome. The B refers to the expected behavior or the performance that is measurable and observable. Example like to recall, or to explain, or to apply. The C stands for the condition refers to the condition under which the behavior is expected to be performed. Example, applying the formula to solve the puzzle. The formula to solve the puzzle is the condition under which the behavior applies to be performed. Now let's see how we can use the ABC to write a learning outcome for a customer service training for a group of retail service staff. We'll begin with, at the end of the lesson, the service staff, which are the audience, will be able to describe, and this is the expected behavior, and the condition of what to describe would be the different types of customers by using the customer profiling tool, and this is the condition. Once we have established the learning outcomes, we can then identify what learning contents would be considered relevant in order for learners to achieve this learning outcome. When identifying the contents, we can look at 3 learning domains: the knowledge, the skills, and the attitude. Using the example of our previous learning outcome, which is at the end of the lesson, the service staff will be able to describe the different types of customers by using the customer profiling tool. Now, knowledge content that will be relevant to address this learning outcome would include the purpose of using the customer profiling tool, able to interpret the customer profiling tool, and how to apply the customer profiling tool, and maybe customer service challenges along the way. There will also be the skills component, which requires the service staff to demonstrate the application of the customer profiling tool. And while doing that, we may also incorporate having a service-oriented attitude that they need to project while demonstrating the application. Now, these would form the possible contents that are relevant to address this learning outcome. And once we have established this, we will then organize these contents in a coherent flow. There are 3 guiding principles to organize contents in a coherent sequence. First, organize contents in a logical order or sequence. Example, if you're covering contents that are related to the history of customer service, then We can arrange it in a chronological order, or if the contents are related to a cause and effect situation, then presenting the challenges can come first before introducing contents that relates to the solutions. Second, we can also organize contents in the order of increasing difficulty. Example, we can cover contents that relates to the basic or fundamental knowledge before going into more advanced content. This will also help learners to pace their learning progressively. Finally, if a content is too heavy, it will be probably much easier for learners to digest when it's broken down to bite size. Example, if you are introducing a profiling tool that has a lot of descriptions for many profiles, we can split the content to two parts, then followed by a break in between to help learners to assimilate into their learnings. To illustrate example, using the previous contents that we have established for the customer service training, we can organize these contents in such a manner. For instance, I will begin with establishing the fundamentals of service attitude. Next, I'll present the cause and effect of the challenges of a customer service and how a customer profiling tool will be helpful to mitigate those challenges. Then, assuming if the customer profiling tool comprises of many profiling descriptions, I can break it over two sessions where the profiling descriptions are taught, followed by the applications. And finally, getting learners to practice those applications of the customer profiling tool. Now, this is just one example of how the contents can be organized using these principles. You may have a different approach on how the contents can be organized. But what is important is at the end of the day, the content should flow in such a way that it tells a story in a coherent manner.